Hi, everyone, and welcome. Before we get started, I'm just going to give you a quick note on Teams. If this is the first time that you're using Teams, feel free to drop your questions in the Q&A at any time, and we'll get them at the end of our Q&A portion of today's event. If you'd like any captions or translations in multiple languages, simply just click the three dots on the top of your screen where it says More and select your language and speech. All right, let's get started. Thanks for joining us again today to discuss field service engineering careers at Thermo Fisher Scientific. We're going to kick things off with some quick introductions. I'm Dina McGregor, and I'm a Senior Global Human Resources Business Partner with our Material and Structural Analysis Division at Thermo Fisher Scientific. With over 11 years of experience here, I provide dedicated support to our over 1,600 global field services colleagues. In my current role, I lead strategic HR initiatives to enhance our organizational effectiveness and support global business operations. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to today's panelists, starting with Johan de Jong.
Hello, good evening and good morning on your side of the globe. My name is Johan de Jonge. I'm based in the Netherlands in Europe. Currently heading up the field service organization within EMEA for a division within Thermo Fisher Scientific. I was started off 7 years ago as a senior manager for the Benelux area, and in that time I was leading up a team supporting all kind of customers in all kind of different disciplines. Before that, working 26 years at another company, always working in service. And to be openly honest, I started as a field service engineer at the start of my career, and made a lot of progression in those years. So very welcome tonight. And now I hand over to Timothy.
Thanks, Johan. Hi, everyone. I'm Tim Wygant. I'm the National Senior Manager for CMD Plan Services in North America. That team focuses on preventative maintenance, installations, and qualifications of our AIG CMD products. I've been with the company now for almost 14 years. It'll be 14 years in January. I started as a field service engineer specializing in ion and liquid chromatography, and then later branched into mass spectrometry. About 5 years ago, I began my leadership journey as the local regional supervisor for Maryland, Virginia, and DC, which evolved a couple of years later into a manager role in, I believe, 2022. In 2023, my career shifted more towards strategic accounts leadership, and I'm continuing that in my current role. Jen?
Perfect. Thanks so much, Tim. Good day, everyone. My name is Jennifer Stoddard. I'm the Director of Field Services for our Chromatography and Mass Spec Division in North America. We currently have about 400 field service engineers servicing equipment and labs across the continent. I started my career with Thermo Fisher about 15 years ago. I had a baby and a young toddler at home at the time, and they've grown up with me in my career as I've been fortunate to continue to grow my career here at Thermo Fisher. Over the past 15 years, I've had 5 different roles, both in services as well as working for a corporate team, and had the opportunity to finish my MBA. So it's been, really a privilege to work with some amazing people across this organization, and it's certainly a great place to be, and excited to share a little bit about our services team and the opportunities here with you today. Dina, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thanks, Jennifer, and thank you to the rest of panelists as well. So before we dive into our discussion, I'm going to share some brief background about our work here at Thermo Fisher. Thermo Fisher has a single mission: to enable our customers to make the world healthier, cleaner, and safer. Together, we help our customers accelerate research, solve complex problems, improve diagnostics, and boost lab productivity for a better tomorrow. Our work has a greater purpose and inspires us all to bring our best to fulfill our mission every day. Our colleagues also share what we call our 4I values, which are integrity, intensity, innovation, and involvement. Our 4I values make up our culture and guide our colleagues' interactions with our customers, suppliers, and partners, and with each other. These 4 values are the foundation of our culture and are fundamental to our continued growth here at Thermo Fisher. At Thermo Fisher, we have over 120,000 global colleagues who collectively are a driving force in healthcare, life science, applied markets, and pharma and biotech. Thermo Fisher generates more than 40 billion in annual revenue with over 1 billion invested in R&D. So with that, let's dive into our topics for today's panel. We'll hear from Johan, Tim, and Jennifer about field service engineering roles, learning opportunities, and career paths. So I'm going to start with asking some pre-submitted questions for the discussion, and then we will take your live questions, as I mentioned earlier, in the last 10 to 15 minutes of our presentation today. So, all right, let's kick off with a very popular baseline question that we received. Johan, can you tell us a little bit about what a typical day looks like for a field service engineer here at Thermo Fisher?
Yeah, thanks, Dina, for the question. And of course, this is a very interesting question because, to be openly honest with you, there is no typical day of a field service engineer, and that is just the great thing about the job that you will be heading to. Every day can be different. It is depending on the type of business that you're going to do on that particular day. It can be that you're doing a maintenance, it can be that you're doing an installation, or when you're called out for repair. The great thing is as well that you're going to meet up with all kind of different type of customers. Every customer has got his own dynamics. Everybody's got a different attitude, different style, and of course different problems at the different customer bases. So to be openly honest, Dina, I don't recall that there is any typical day for an engineer, and it's not just another day in the office, to be openly honest.
Oh, thanks for your perspective, Johan. I know that there are different areas of our business. So our field service engineer roles can vary quite a bit. I'd like to ask Jennifer, do you have maybe another perspective of what a typical day looks like for your teams?
Yeah, thanks so much, Dina. As Johan said, there is no typical day in field service. Certainly, I think some of the themes that come across in the work our teams do is, and things we look for, is a passion for continuous learning, right? You are always going to be learning something new, whether you've been here 6 months or 15 years. There's something new to learn every single day. Our field service engineers tend to, do a lot of travel to different customer labs locally and maybe a little bit further troubleshooting. They're servicing and installing and maintaining customer instrumentation. But I think, just as important as the work they do to fix instruments for customers, they are also fixing our customers. And what I mean by that is taking care of the customer needs, right? Explaining and educating. Our customers find huge value in those interpersonal skills we bring, as much as they do the technical skills. And so the work we do, each and every day really helps to ensure we're able to deliver on our mission and that our customers continue to make a difference.
Thanks for the additional input, Jennifer. Really appreciate it. So I'd like to now move along to talking about a little bit about rewards and challenges for our FSEs. Tim, can you share your perspective about what you find most rewarding about your work and potentially any challenges that our candidates should consider?
Yeah, thanks, Dina. And absolutely. And everyone, you're going to hear a lot of recurring themes today. You really are. And once again, I'm going to echo what Jennifer and Johan said. There is no typical day for an FSC. And that is probably actually the biggest challenge of working in a field-based role. Unlike a typical 9 to 5 that everyone is used to, you're essentially running your own small business. You have to hold yourself accountable. It's easy to kind of veer off course. Become distracted from your day-to-day responsibilities if you're not well organized, manage your time effectively, and focus on evolving and ongoing priorities. Flexibility is a must. As Jennifer kind of alluded to, traveling happens. Customer requirements happen, and you do have to remain flexible. But is it worth it? Absolutely. I've said many times the best decision I ever made in my life, and Jennifer's heard this before, is the person that I married. The second is definitely choosing a career with Thermo Fisher Scientific. It's incredible. As Dina, as you previously stated, Thermo Fisher has a singular mission to enable our customers to make the world healthier, cleaner, and safer. And really, there's nothing more rewarding than that.
Thanks, Tim. I appreciate that perspective. I want to ask Johan, what about you? What do you find rewarding about your work, and any challenges that our candidates should consider from your perspective?
Yeah, thanks again. I mean, one of the things which is really important as well for being a field service engineer is the freedom that you have. It was already mentioned earlier. I mean, it's not a 9 to 5 job. It can be an 8 till 7 in the evening job, or it can be, let's say, a 9 to 3 in the afternoon job. And that is something which Tim was also saying. You're running your own little business within the bigger company. The freedom that you have on, let's say, planning your own job, planning your work, planning your own travel towards the customer, as well as, of course, being at the customer side and being, let's say, a trusted advisor for the customer, because that's really an important topic as well. As a field service engineer, you're not only an engineer, you're not only a technical expert on your certain domain, but you can also be seen as, let's say, a principal consultant for the customer, because you are coming over to so many different customers. You see so many things out in the field. You can also give the advice to the customer on how to best use their instruments for their business, because that's what all it's about. We are, let's say, installing, repairing, and maintaining instruments which are not only for us, but it's mainly important for the customers to drive their business forward. And what it said is to support our customers to drive their business in their best sense. So that is my perspective as well on this. Yeah.
Well, thanks, Johanna. I really appreciate that. We talked a little bit about what a typical day looks like for a field service engineer. We talked a little bit about, what you find rewarding about your work and any challenges our candidates should consider. There's another topic that had quite a bit of interest from our attendees today, and it's about learning opportunities here in Thermo Fisher. So Tim, let's start with you. What are your thoughts here? What does onboarding look like for a new field service engineer, and how do you help someone learn the ropes here?
Well, there are a lot of ropes. That's number one, right? So we could spend hours on this discussion if we were to go through all the ways that we have, or all of the programs that we help new hires feel supported. So I'll start number one with HR. Our human resources team is amazing. They're second to none. Our HR partners are deeply involved and invested in the success of our new talent, and they're with us throughout the entire journey. From a field service team perspective, every new hire is assigned an ambassador and a field mentor who are highly involved and dedicated to the new hire's success. We have a wealth of knowledge circulating throughout our entire team, and there is no shortage of expertise, experience, and feedback. This is also complemented by a team of leaders and mentors that are focused on Thermo Fisher Scientific policies and instrument training. And our team has a wealth of e-learnings, virtual sessions, and resources available to all new hires. As Johan kind of alluded to a little bit, FSEs may oftentimes feel like they're on their own working most of the time, but we do have an extensive support structure in place to ensure that every FSE, whether they've been with us for 20 years or are brand new, that they're always supported.
Thanks, Tim. I appreciate your perspective on that. So Jennifer, the next question is for you and sort of builds on that. How does Thermo Fisher support continuous learning and professional growth for our field service engineers?
A great question, Dina, and really one that's near and dear to my heart, because we do a lot of work internally with our teams within the chromatography and mass spec team specifically, right, to continue to offer opportunities for them to grow and develop and lots of different pathways as well as they grow their career here. So building on what Tim said, we have our main training center for technical training here in West Palm Beach, Florida, as well as some other training centers located around both the U.S. and in EMEA. And we offer in those sites not only new hire training, but also continuous development training. So there may be some advanced level troubleshooting skills we want to continue to build upon, and we can do that in this training command center, right, outside of from customer view, so to speak, and be able to offer that. There's certainly plenty of e-learnings, as Tim alluded to, and some of those other things. But some of the most important things you can do in order to grow your career is have those very candid conversations about your path and your future path with your manager and supervisor. We're really focused on helping folks grow into where they'd like to, whether that's continuing to grow as a field service engineer, and we can grow into more complex modalities, right, in our instrument portfolio, or maybe interested in moving into other areas like our remote support team or other areas within service or the broader Thermo Fisher organization. So we really work individually with each of our employees to develop a career plan and development plan that's tied specifically to what they're looking to do.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Jennifer. I appreciate that. All right. The last question is around technology. Our attendees today have asked, how is technology like digital tools and, of course, AI changing the way our field service engineers work today? Johan and Tim, can you share your thoughts around this? Around, how are we using digital tools and AI? Johan, I'll start with you.
Yeah, that's fine. Thanks. We're not using it at all. No, just kidding. I mean, the main thing that we are doing is we've got our own, let's say, AI platform within Thermo Fisher Scientific, and as recently announced, also the cooperation with OpenAI. And the major development, especially for field service engineers, is the development of our so-called service virtual agent. This is a tool which has been developed, which is making use, let's say, of all the knowledge base that we have within the company, but also all the experiences that has been brought into the tool by engineers around the globe. And with this application, engineers who are out in the field can easily search for, let's say, already existing solutions for certain problems that they run into. It is making use, let's say, of AI. It's making use of the knowledge that we have within the company. And for that aspect, I mean, the technology is really evolving very, very fast, I should say. So instead of using big binders of paper and using, let's say, all kind of other, let's say, search tools that are around the globe, this is a great development, and it's really helping our engineers out in the field, but as well, of course, our customers, which is the most important topic. I mean, the faster we can repair an instrument, the better it is for us, of course, and the better it is for the customer as well. So that is really, if you talk about, let's say, one of the latest developments that we have, I think that is really a top-notch developed by our own company, which is great. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thanks,
Tim?
Johan. What about you, Tim?
Yeah, I mean, Johan nailed it, right? AI integration is everywhere, and it's becoming increasingly prevalent in our day-to-day lives. So it's no surprise that we're seeing it more and more in our professional environments as well. I will say that our technology teams are always working diligently to integrate our own internal AI platforms, Gene AI and SVA Plus, into our FSE's electronic toolkits. I know our FSEs use them every day. With just a few taps on their phone or clicks on their laptop, the FSEs are able to access instrument service history, troubleshooting guides, and custom search agents to make their jobs easier every day, more efficient every day. It's really never been easier to tap into that wealth of information that, as Johan alluded to, used to be in these gigantic books and binders, now are, a couple of keystrokes away. So, and we have an extensive knowledge base that's now all electronic. And so it's really never been easier to tap that information. And it's actually never been easier for our customers either. They can set up access in an internal platform called Services Central to view operators manuals, instrument service history, and existing service reports, as well as opening service tickets. Additionally, our customers can remotely collaborate with our DRS, Digital Remote Support Team, which consists of our most experienced FSEs equipped with this full access to AI tools for troubleshooting remotely. We've really seen an increase in remote resolution, which allows quick resolution to instrument or software issues without the need of FSEs even going on site. So, it is constantly growing. We are constantly seeing these advances that are just making our jobs much more efficient, much more enjoyable, that we can really focus on, the customer side of it.
Yeah, I agree with you, Tim, and I'm super excited about what we're currently doing as a company and where we're going to continue to move forward with AI. So appreciate that. Our last discussion, I want to circle back to a little bit about our career pathways for a field service engineer. And I ask that we bring up on the next slide here. We have a nice visual reference of our field service engineer career journey. It's our model that we use. It's a career path model. And there really are two key pathways for our field service engineers. The expert in management pathway, it delivers value to the business as well as the individual FSC, and the opportunity to move between pathways throughout your career. So the expert pathway is seen really as a technical expert or a specialist pathway. It's really focused on developing greater technical expertise, being recognized as what we call a subject matter expert or an SME. It's defined as an individual contributor role, and the success for the expert pathway is measured by individual results and by expertise. The other pathway, the management pathway, is focused on the development of business managerial skills, so people management, business acumen, and that's really defined by work that is accomplished through others, so through your team. Success there is measured mainly by team effectiveness and results. So while we have two key career pathways, our FSC journeys include many, many other options, such as moving laterally. So that means changing from one business to another business within Thermo Fisher. There's potential relocation, so moving from one location, to another location in order to get more exposure to new opportunities, to grow your career. There's something called realignment, which is really taking a step back from your existing responsibilities to learn a different part of the business or maybe even some new technical skills. And there's the vertical move, right, which is increasing your responsibility into a higher level position. So with that background, let's bring it back to our panelists. Johan, I'm going to start with you. For someone exploring our technical track, right, or the expert pathway, what background or skills do you find most valuable to have at Thermo Fisher?
The most valuable competence, which I think is really important for a field service engineer, is to be interested in what you're doing. That's maybe sounds very simple, but it's really important for your job to do. Next to that, your analytical skills and your troubleshooting skills, knowing how to, let's say, find a way from, let's say, a broad problem that there might be at an instrument or at the customer side, and bringing it down, let's say, to the root cause of what is causing that particular problem. Trying to find out, okay, how and what should I exclude and what should I include in my fault finding there, in my troubleshooting there. So the analytical skills, your interest in the machinery, but also in the application that our customers are using, is I think it's vital for the job that you need to do as a field service engineer. Running into an installation of an instrument. I mean, it is not like you buy something and it's you plug in the power into the wall and then everything is up and running. No, you need to have very, let's say, analytical skills to get the machine up and running, to run the application of the customer, to show it to the customer. So extrovert could be useful as well. Talking to the customer, speaking to the customer, but mainly also listening to the customer is one of the other additional skills that I think is really important as an engineer.
Thanks, Johan. Tim, do you have any additional thoughts around that? Maybe, what background or skills do you think you find most valuable for somebody looking at that expert pathway or that technical track?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Dina. I'm going to have to start going first because Johan's taking all of my answers, to be perfectly honest. But, and 100% added focus, from a personal perspective, listening, being an active listener and active communicator is paramount, right? But more from a technical side, I do believe a background in science is important. I absolutely do. Biology, chemistry, engineering, something along those lines is absolutely is is definitely something we need in our toolkit, right? But I don't really feel like it's the most critical factor. To me, what truly matters is a passion for learning. Jennifer already alluded to that. A passion for problem solving, and really a passion for people. From a technical perspective, being a tinkerer who enjoys finding new and effective solutions is pivotal. Kind of thinking out of the box and really engaging in the entire mindful toolkit. Not only just technical expertise is extremely important in terms of contributing to success. It's really about obviously combining those interpersonal skills, but combining logical troubleshooting as well as technical expertise.
Thanks, Tim. And because you mentioned it, I'm gonna ask you now to start first about what skills that you find a new candidate would need for our management pathway. We talked a little bit about technical expertise on the technical pathway. So what about management pathways? What do you look for?
Yeah, so thanks. That's a great question. And first and foremost, and I've always felt this way. I've done a ton. I've been in a bunch of different leadership roles, coaching outside of the professional side, from kids all the way up to adults. And I really do feel. I believe that there is a distinct difference between a manager and a leader. Leaders are more focused on inspiring and guiding their teams towards a vision, while managers are concerned with ensuring that day-to-day operations run smoothly and efficiently. Both roles are extremely important, right, and are essential for the success of any organization, specifically our organization. Effective leaders oftentimes possess those strong management skills and vice versa. That said, I typically prioritize leadership qualities over managerial ones. Like I said, strong communication skills, empathy, and individuals who thrive on teamwork and cultivating that team environment are the characteristics I value most. And Johan, I hope I stole your answers this time. So I'm gonna throw it over to you.
You absolutely know. One of the things that I think maybe miss is the organizational skills. I mean, we already said in the beginning, you own your own, let's say, little small business within the big company. You need to organize your own work by yourself. You also need to be on an administrative side. You need to be accurate. And we are a commercial organization, so also that is a real important aspect to make sure that you do that. With that said, I mean, me as a manager, you can immediately see over time, you can see how people are evolving, how are people developing themselves during their job, how they get into this organizational model, how they take the lead. I mean, you have problems out in the field, how they take the lead in solving those problems, where you've got potentially, it never happens, escalations at customers. Things are not going right. How are they and engineers organizing that? Most of the time, the people who are, let's say, up to the management track will also take the lead in those type of discussions internally, but as well, of course, in a good way with the customer. So that is definitely the organizational of those type of activities is really important as well. Yeah.
Well, thank you both. I appreciate your answers and your perspective on what skills are needed for not only our technical track, but our management track. Now to the last question, but it's a big one, and don't want to forget Jennifer here. So let's talk about other possible career moves. And Jennifer, can you start us off? What other career path moves do you often see here at Thermo Fisher?
Yeah, this is a really important one because people leadership is not for everyone, and not everyone wants to go down that management track. So I think we've done a lot of work over the last several years to build out career path models that don't involve people leadership, right? Some of it is what you shared earlier on the screen. You may have noticed there's multiple levels within field service itself, right? So you can grow your career through that field service path, so to speak. We also have specialists who really specialize in a particular product line. And they will grow into both regional, which, maybe within our particular region. So our field service engineers are split at a regional level into smaller teams, and they may support several of those smaller regions. And then national specialists, which really is what it says, right? And what those roles entail is actually really exciting. It's not only fixing some of our most complex, challenging issues, which Johan alluded to earlier, right? Sometimes we get troubleshooting an instrument, it's quite a complex issue. And we may need to call in the trauma team, so to speak, to help, really uncover what is the root cause of that issue. And so we call in our specialists to help with that. When they go on site to do that, they're taking that as an opportunity to mentor and train our folks who are on the ground, right? And may not have seen this issue before. And so they're really doing some expert level mentoring and coaching to our field service teams. So that's a national and regional specialist. We also have our remote support team that Tim alluded to earlier. So our remote support team is a large group of engineers who sit across both North America and Europe, and they respond to customers remotely. And help troubleshoot and get them back up and running the same day. And the great thing about, this role in particular, there is no travel associated with it normally. We may get them out in the field a little bit, but generally not a lot of travel. So this is great for folks who may have some life changes, right? Family circumstances that require them to be more locally based or have a role that has no travel associated with it. I'm thinking about, potentially new moms who may need to be home for a little bit. This provides some different things to fit into your life as you continue, as those dynamics change personally. There's many other opportunities across our services organization and broader Thermo Fisher, as I said before, but those are a couple just to give you a flavor of some of the things internal paths that a lot of our engineers move into.
Thanks, Jennifer. I appreciate that. Johan, that has me thinking. I think you also have some unique perspectives, right? I heard you say before, we were talking a little bit before, that our FSCs are uniquely qualified for roles in R&D or in sales, of course, based on their interests. Can you tell us a little bit more about why those areas in particular?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you very much. I mentioned already in the beginning, as a field service engineer, you're out in the field, you get to know our instruments the best way possible from ins and outs. But most important is as well, you are at the customer side. So you have a lot of interaction with the customers. So with that aspect, you learn and to hear, especially when we talked about active listening, you hear what the customers, what their need is, what their wish is for what type of functionality they would like to have for, let's say, future development of their business. With that aspect in mind, the engineers are an absolute, good career path could be into an R&D organization, taking the knowledge out of the field, the experience that the customers are having with the instruments, take that back into R&D and develop on the base of the knowledge that you have, develop our instruments further. That can be from a user interface perspective. An R&D guy can think this must work in this way. But if a customer cannot use it in that way because of whatever reason, it is of no use. So bringing back that expertise and that knowledge back into the R&D organization. And the second track, and I personally have been there, with the knowledge that you have and listening to the customers, you also understand their demands that they have. So whenever you move into a sales type of role, could be product management, could be an active account management role, you can bring that expertise and that knowledge that you have, you can bring that as well into the organization. So with that aspect, you have a much better negotiation possibility in front of, let's say, procurement of our customers to sell our instrument, because you know them, you know what they can do with it, you know the benefits, you also know the drawbacks, which you of course keep for yourself, but at least you can make use of the expertise that you've gained in the years that you've been out in the field. So that's another career path, and what I think Jennifer said it as well. Not everyone can become the CEO of the company, or not everybody's willing to become the CEO of the company, but be active out in the field as either within the service organization or in the sales organization as well. So that's a different career path that it has a possibility. Yeah.
Thank you, Johan. I appreciate it. And thanks to all the panelists for sharing your insights. I think they've been really great. So again, thanks for sharing them with everybody today. At this time, we're going to go ahead and move into our live Q&A. But before we do that, I of course want to take the opportunity to encourage you to join us. And if you're ready to take that next step into a field service role at Thermo Fisher, please feel free to scan the QR code on the screen and bookmark it. That will take you directly to our career site where you can learn more and then, apply for any of our open field service engineering roles at your convenience. Again, the QR code is there on the screen. So, you could just, like I said, bookmark it and feel free to apply whenever you have more time. So with that, let's go ahead and dive into our Q&A. So we're going to try and tackle as many of the questions from the chat as we can. And of course, obviously, we can't cover everything. So we will include any of the questions that we can't cover in a follow-up FAQ email. Again, you can submit any questions you have at any time using the Q&A tool. But I'm going to go ahead and kick it off right now with our first question. So Jennifer, this question I'm going to go ahead and pose to you. The question is, I'm an engineer with FSC experience, but in a different industry. How easy is it to transition to an FSC role at Thermo Fisher?
Thanks, Tina. I think the great thing about Thermo Fisher is we have a diversity of products and diversity of divisions across the organization. So obviously, I don't know your specific background. Typically in chromatography and mass spec, we are looking for some chemistry or some science background. I don't know if that's what you have, but I will say, having worked in some of our other divisions as well, that's not a requirement in all of our divisions from a field service engineer perspective. So I would take a look at the job descriptions posted that was shared in that QR link and see what's needed. But certainly the soft skills required, those are transferable across all field service organizations, right? How to take care of the customer, how to communicate effectively. So absolutely, I think those are transferable. In regards to the specifics of your personal background, I take a look at the job descriptions. Another thing I just wanted to share really quickly for those of you who may not have experience in field service because you're just wrapping up your school experience, we have on Tim's team just opened up 10 positions here in North America for our apprentice level roles, and certainly it's a great way to get some experience through that program as well.
Thanks, Jennifer. Again, as a reminder, that QR code is there. That'll link right to our job website. And as Jennifer mentioned, our minimum qualifications and the responsibilities of the role will be listed in each of those the job descriptions. Speaking of the responsibilities and the job descriptions, we did have a question around what is the scope of responsibility for an FSC? And I know that's going to vary with each of our FSC roles and each of the divisions. But Tim, for your team, what is the scope of responsibility for an FSC?
Well, I would say number one, rely on obviously the postings on for the particular job to really know what those requirements and what the day-to-day, if we can say, quote unquote, atypical day for an FSC, but really where our responsibility really lies is to our customers, right? And everything we do is customer focus, is to provide a positive customer experience and making sure that we're providing solutions for our customers, right? So everything is really centered around that. In terms of the nuance, validations and qualifications, absolutely. One of the primary roles of the team that I lead is our plan services, which does include the qualification, PMs, and installations. So that is absolutely in scope. But once again, out of the to pull away from the technical nuance, our primary responsibility is to our customers and provide that voice back to our leadership and really provide those solutions. It's a huge question. Right? There's admin responsibilities, there's technical expertise. You've got to be able to fix some instruments, right? But we really have to be able to fix our customers. That's really what brings us our customers back to Thermo Fisher Scientific is our engagement and the positive relationships we have there.
Thanks so much, Tim. I really appreciate that, and hopefully that answered that question. So the next question is for someone coming from a different background. What's one either expected or unexpected skill or trait that's really helpful, or that's really helped an FSC succeed here? So Johan, I'll pitch that one to you. So what do you think is a skill or trait that really has helped someone succeed?
Yeah, I think, Gina, I know it. I don't know if it was on purpose, but to be openly honest, I mean, the 26 years before I joined Thermo Fisher, I was working in a completely different industry. And at that time, I didn't even know what Thermo Fisher Scientific was doing. I came from a telecom background, and I went into, let's say, the business that we are in Thermo Fisher Scientific. So it's absolutely a good question. The main thing which I found is the different type of customers that we have. And it's coming from, let's say, a service organization within a different industry into Thermo Fisher Scientific. A customer is the customer. And technology is technology, and service is service. And that, what Timothy was also saying, the most important thing is on how are you outgoing towards a customer? What do you do at the customer side, and how do you react? If you are a good technical expertise, and what you said, I mean, different on the skills that you have, we take you there, we learn you, we take you by the hand and guide you through, let's say, the process of the technologies that you will learn from coming from a different industry into Thermo Fisher Scientific. And from that aspect, as long as you've got the mentality and willingness to learn, and willingness to also to make mistakes and learn from those mistakes, you're absolutely able to succeed within the company. And that is the experience that I have, but also when I hire engineers out there in the past 7 years that I work with Thermo, it is absolutely necessary to the willingness to learn and to willingness to be outspoken into a customer and going out to the customer. So that is, let's say, my experience that I have coming from a different type of industry into Thermo Fisher Scientific. Yeah. So
Thanks.
challenge yourself and have the nerve to take up this challenge to become a field service engineer within our company, because it's really a great job to do.
Thanks, Johan. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
The next question is, someone asked if Thermo Fisher has laser devices. What kinds of systems, tools, or technologies do you work with most in the field? So Jennifer, I will pass that one to you.
Perfect. This one is pretty open. Thermo Fisher, as we alluded to, is a large organization. We have grown through acquisition over the years. And as Dina mentioned at the start, we have over 120,000 employees, which means a lot of different technologies. Certainly our teams work with the chromatography and mass spec equipment, but there are multiple other divisions. They take care of everything from, ultra low fridges and freezers in lab settings. I've seen microscopes that are the size of an entire room that some field service engineers work on, as well as, some of you may know those PCR machines that did all the COVID testing a few years back. So there's such a variety of equipment that we get to work with here at Thermo Fisher. What I'd suggest is take a look at our website. Maneuver around there a little bit, see what interests you and how that aligns with the postings that are available via that QR code. But the website really is the best place to go to see everything that kind of, we have our hand in as an organization, and then really, try and figure out what piques your interest and what aligns to where you want to be. So I hope that helps, Dina.
Thanks so much, Jennifer. I appreciate it. We do have another question, and that question is, what innovations do you see shaping the future of field service over the next few years? So Tim, I'm going to pitch that one to you, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks, Tina. It's a really good question, right? Everyone wants to know what directions we're going in. I will say from a field service toolkit perspective, a lot of it is still centered around AI, right? I think there's always going to be a need to turn wrenches. There's always going to need to be able to physically install the instrumentation that is constantly evolving as well. But in terms of growing field service, in terms of future innovations, a lot of it is going to be centered on the resources available electronically in the virtual toolkit realm. And just like AI that we're seeing like in everyday life, the more that the engineers and leaders engage in those platforms, the better it gets. And so that's really where we see a lot of that innovation coming from. I will say also we have a process a process of improvement internally where we're constantly looking to do things a better way every day. And so we are constantly getting feedback from the field, constantly getting feedback from our engineers that are experiencing both positives and negatives on what the ways that we can improve our day-to-day activities. And we run with those. And we really explore every avenue to improve the day-to-day operations of our business, but also the day-to-day operations of our teams. And from a technical perspective, it wasn't really asked. Our innovation in R&D is incredible. We are seeing innovations across the board to make our world better. We'll just put it like that, to make our world better and to make Thermo Fisher the most successful company that we can make it.
Thanks so much, Tim. I appreciate that. Johan, I did get another question. Hopefully you can answer this. It's a pretty good question, right? And I think it definitely can vary from, the business unit that the FSC is in, but how many customers are given to each of our field service engineers, and how large are the territories? I guess you can just answer this from your perspective in your division.
Yeah. I'm working in a different division than Jennifer and Timothy are working in. I worked for that division where they are as well. I started off 1 year ago. I moved to another division. So it's a complete different type of customer base that I'm working with now. In the previous role I had, it was mainly focusing on, let's say, a smaller territory within Europe. I'm saying I'm working in Europe, so all the different countries that we have. So that was really a country-based type of role that people had. Now working in a division that I'm working in, it's a complete different type of, let's say, businesses and different type of industries. They are also geographically more spread over the whole of Europe and even the Middle East and Africa. So it is really depending on the business, the type of instruments that you work with. Because even within my division, I've got one product line which is really concentrated in Western Europe. So there we've got the engineers concentrated as well. So their traveling is much less. But we also have got businesses which are, let's say, in the mining and in the mining type of industry. And you can imagine that there's not in every country in Europe available. So their traveling is more, and that's also, of course, the role that you apply for if you're willing to do that. And most of the time it is also, of course, noted in the job advert that it is expected from you that your willingness to travel for that particular role. If you don't want to do that, of course, and you want to apply for a role which is more close by, then you can do that for another type of product line that we have within the organization, as Jennifer mentioned as well. There is so much variety of, let's say, instruments that we are serving, and in the different divisions that we have, where we have field service engineers a need for. So it really varies. But we've got all the possibilities at hand, Dina. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Johan. Our next question comes from somebody who wants to know what success looks like in the first 6 months for a new field service engineer joining our team. So Jen, if you don't mind, I'll kick this one over to you.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I'm going to answer this one for our team specifically, but I've worked for some other groups as well. And some of those, by the 6-month mark, you're working 100% independently, right? You've completed your training path and you were out servicing customers and repairing equipment on your own. For our team specifically, that first 6 months, usually, we're working first on some side-by-side coaching. So you would join the team. We'd get you out co-traveling with our experienced field service engineers. And we call that pre-coaching, right? Where you're going out and you're getting to, see the equipment, see how it works, see how our team is interacting both with the equipment and our customers. And then when we get you enrolled and signed up in class, likely here in West Palm Beach, where you would come in and do some in-person training. Prior to that in-person training, there'd be some e-learning modules you'd probably go through. And then following the in-person training, there is some mentoring that would happen. And again, that mentoring would be with one of our certified mentors. You would go out and you would now be practicing what you learned in the classroom. So once we get through the first 6 months, you're probably certified on a product and starting to close tickets on that product, but then also continuing your learning and development into some of our other products through that same path, right? The coaching, the prerequisites, and then the training class and some additional mentoring. So depending on where you are and what products you're working on, success in that first 6 months looks really different, but be assured whichever team it is and wherever you are, we certainly have a training path to get you to where you need to be and are invested in your success as well.
Thanks so much, Jennifer. I appreciate that. I'm going to take just one last question here. And the question is specifically about career transition. So this person wants to know, if I'm an engineering manager, how do I move to a technical role? Tim, would you mind taking that one?
Oh yeah, sure. And that's a really interesting question, actually, Dina, because we actually see it usually the other way, right? We'll see a technical role really transition into leadership. And so yeah, kind of thinking about that, and obviously there's individual nuance and qualifications. But if you have an engineering background, I think you are set up from a baseline perspective for some success. You understand hopefully the science side of it, which, gives you a leg up in terms of, executing on, kind of the day-to-day operations or the technical expertise side. I think it's what's really important if you move from any sort of a leadership role from company A to company B is to really have an open mind about the new culture. You alluded to it before, Dina, about our 4I principles that we really execute on every day. What we're really looking for is individuals that embrace that type of mentality across professionally and personally. And it really comes off as a strong indicator of how you lead your everyday life. And so once again, without really kind of going into the nuance too much, it's really embracing the culture of Thermo Fisher Scientific and across all roles. If there's going to be success to be had if you really embrace our 4 Is and just really understand that we're here for our customers, we're here for science, we're here for innovation, but we're really here also to make the world a better place. And in any transition, that's really what we're looking for.
Thanks, Tim. That's a great point to make there. And that does bring us to the end of our virtual event and the end, of course, of our live Q&A. Thank you so much to our amazing panel who took time out of their busy schedules, to join us at today's event. And thank you to all of the people behind the scenes that you don't know and you don't know who they are, but they go above and beyond in terms of putting these live events together. So thank you to them as well. And definitely, most importantly, thank you everyone who attended the call today. Before you head out, we're always looking to make our events better. So you'll be receiving a post-event survey after the end of this call. So you can also scan the QR code on the screen to provide us feedback as well. And we really do appreciate your time and participation. So thanks again for joining us and have a great rest of your day.